The year of the monkey began with blood. The enemy struck across the length and breadth of South Vietnam, shattering what had been a holiday truce. The holiday was Tet, the Lunar New Year. For the first time, the Viet Cong invaded the cities in force, including Saigon.
The Vietnam War revolutionized the media's role in broadcasting. With nightly images of the Vietnam War, the media created a powerful reaction throughout our country and reformed the news for years to come.
Depending on airstrikes to hold off a threat.
All right, let's turn to the Cam Ne story, which is really one of the most famous and important episodes in really broadcast journalism.
Been in action like this before, Marine?
No, I haven't. Not like this, I haven't.
In 1965, a Marine squad was sent on a search and destroy mission to burn down huts in a village called Cam Ne. The day's operation burned down 150 houses, wounded 3 women, killed 1 baby, and netted 4 prisoners. This morally safe report had become one of the most revolutionary broadcasts in journalism history.
Little doubt that American firepower can win.
Had you anticipated the tremendous impact, the outrage that this would cause?
Not really. Not really, because we lived in a kind of glorious isolation there. There was no, there was a sense that you were just sending your stuff out in the blue like that, and rarely getting any response.
By decade's end, Americans had grown tired of the living room war that came into their homes' daily news programs, sometimes with vivid film of bloody casualties that eventually amounted to more than 58,000 American dead, most 18 to 20 years old.
25,000 Manhattan marchers include students, housewives, beatnik poets, doctors, businessmen, teachers, priests, and nuns. Makeup and costumes were bizarre. Before the parade, mass draft card burning was urged. Demonstrators claimed 200 cards were burned, but no accurate count could be determined. Reporters and onlookers were jostled away on purpose. Although mostly peaceful, shouted confrontations were frequent and fiery during the course of the march.
On Saturday night, demonstrators at Kent State University in Ohio burned the ROTC building to the ground. There was more trouble over the weekend, and today the protest turned into a riot with thousands of demonstrators facing National Guardsmen and police. Someone, possibly a sniper, started shooting, and a few minutes later, 4 protesters, 2 women and 2 men, were dead.
How many roads must a man walk down before you call him a man? How many seas must the white dove sail before she sleeps in the sand? Yes, and how many times must the cannonballs fly before they're forever banned? The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind.
And I came back with the conclusion that I then used on the air with clear definition that it was an editorial, not a factual report, but my belief that we had done the best we could. We weren't going to meet success out there. We should talk of peace openly with the North Vietnamese, come to the peace table with open hands, and that we should get out of there admitting that we'd done the very best we could.
Lyndon B. Johnson was tired of the war and tired of being president. In 1968, he declared on national television that he would not accept a Democratic nomination to run for a second term. Johnson had been run down by the U.S. media and its citizens. As he told a White House correspondent, "If I have lost Cronkite, then I have lost America, and I have lost the war."
Far away, with America's future under challenge right here at home, with our hopes and the world's hopes for peace and the balance every day, I do not believe that I should devote an hour or a day of my time to any personal partisan causes or to any duties other than the awesome duties of this office, the presidency of your country. Accordingly, I shall not seek and I will not accept the nomination of my party for another term as your president.
Even though only a fourth of war coverage had images of blood and gore, it was far more than any other kind of media before it, revolutionizing what people saw at home. Unlike other wars, graphic images rolled across the screen. Television coverage of the destructive fighting in Saigon and Hue was extensive and graphic. It left many with impressions that the United States and its allies were in desperate straits. Not only was the media revolutionary, but it reformed news, putting boundaries on where reporters could go and how much they were allowed to see.
Warning shots to keep the street clear. The bodies of 2 American military policemen who died as they tried to assault the compound lay near their Jeep across the boulevard. This is where the Viet Cong raiders broke in. They'd sneaked up and blasted a hole in the reinforced concrete fence surrounding the compound. They had the big embassy wall to protect them. They were inside before anyone knew.
Fellow Americans, tonight I want to talk to you on a subject of deep concern to all Americans and to many people in all parts of the world, the war in Vietnam.
In 1969, Richard Nixon was elected as president. Nixon claimed he had a secret plan to the war and won the election. He used a process called Vietnamization. This was a method of training South Vietnamese troops to fight and then slowly pulling out American troops. During Nixon's years, the war was brought into Cambodia and Laos to try to find pockets of communists along the Ho Chi Minh Trail.
Some of the questions that I know are on the minds of many of you listening to me. How and why did America get involved in Vietnam in the first place? How has this administration changed the policy of the previous administration? What has really happened in the negotiations in Paris and on the battlefront in Vietnam? What choices do we have if we are to end the war?
Being captured, or much of it was being captured.
Well, whatever we could capture, and there was certainly no one trying to stop us from capturing it either, by the way. I mean, there was nobody saying you better not shoot this or anything like that. None.
Did that surprise you at the time?
No, because we had such access. There was never any.
Vietnam was the first war of its kind. By revolutionizing the media's voice, creating one of America's strongest reactions, and reforming the news, Vietnam will stand out in time forever.
There are children standing here, arms outstretched into the sky, tears drying on their face. He has been here. Brothers lie in shallow graves, fathers lost without a trace, a nation blind to their disgrace since he's been here. And I see no bravery, no bravery in your eyes anymore, only sadness. And I see no bravery, no bravery in your eyes anymore, only sadness, only sadness.